Welcome to the Aligned Schedule training. I geek out pretty hardcore on schedules, so this is my jam. And whether you're like me and you absolutely love scheduling and planning, or if you absolutely hate scheduling and planning, if when you think about your schedule and you feel overwhelmed or stressed out or like you're juggling way too many things, you're in the right place. This training will help you get clarity on your schedule and help you create a schedule where you're prioritizing the things that you want to be prioritizing rather than the things that have been thrust at you that you're currently juggling. So what I'd like for you to start with is actually make a commitment to prioritizing yourself for this time that we're doing this training. So please set aside anything else that might get in the way of your entire focus on this. Because as we're going through this is time for you to really get massive clarity on your daily life. It's a massive demonstration of self-care and love for yourself to take this time to check in with the alignment of your schedule. So you feel free to pause the training if you like, get whatever you need, and make sure that you have the materials that were sent to you so that you can use that as we go through the training. So I'm going to pull up the slides now for us. So my name is Elizabeth Hill. If you haven't figured that out yet or don't know me yet, I am an author and alignment coach. What we're doing in this training is we're helping you get clear on your priorities and to take a look at your current schedule and see how it aligns with them. You'll learn the power of an aligned schedule. For most people, this is not something they've ever experienced. It's a completely foreign concept that you could actually have a schedule that's filled with ease and grace and meaning at the same time. We will, during this training, create a schedule that's aligned with your unique priorities. And what I mean by that is I won't be telling you what I think you should prioritize. We're actually going to create space for you to decide what you are setting as your priorities, and then let that be a guide for creating a schedule that's unique for you. And we'll also talk about how to make the schedule actionable. We've probably all been in the place where we make a schedule and it looks perfect and it seems like a great idea and the thing just does not happen, right? So creating a schedule is one thing. Actually making the schedule practical and actionable in your life is another. So we'll talk about ways that you can ensure that you get to use that aligned schedule in your life. So first I'll talk a little bit about me. My life purpose is love. So when you look at my materials, my website, anything about my business, you'll see love, love, love everywhere. You'll see my love and order program. You'll see my love notes, right? It shows up everywhere. I talk about self-love a lot and compassionate living, right? So what I mean by that is not just a romantic love, right? Or intimacy, although those are certainly very important. I'm also talking about love as a verb, treating people as you would want to be treated. Basic decency to help others meet their basic needs, right, for living. That type of love is so needed in this world and for each of us. And so this is my mission, to help us have a more loving and compassionate world, starting with me and starting with me every day, like showing myself self-love and working on being more compassionate with those around me. Not always easy, right? But that is my purpose. So what things do I bring that are qualities of who I am? When I coach with people, when I work with them, one thing that we do is we get clear on what things are uniquely in their being that don't require any additional action or activities on their part. It's just who they are. It's what they show up with, what they bring into rooms with them, right? And the things that I have are warmth, joy, wisdom, radiance, and mother. All those things are who I am and what I bring. Flip side. So that sounded pretty dazzly, right? Did I sparkle a little bit? Was I looking like I sparkled? Uh, that's not all there is to me, right? There's plenty of things that I probably wish you wouldn't figure out, right? Um, how I get in my own way. We all have different ways that we sabotage ourselves and trip ourselves up, right? One way I do it is I make everything way more complicated than it needs to be, right? I will, and this shows up in my schedule, which is one reason I want to share it with you, that it is very common for me to look and find I've scheduled two things at the same time, right? And when I see that, then I go, well, there must be a way to make it work, right? How complicated does it need to be, right? So that's one way that I sabotage myself. Another way is I will avoid like it's my actual job. I will avoid conflict. I will put things off and like pretend they're not there, right? So those are some ways I sabotage myself. And there are ways that you do it too, right? So that's something that through coaching work we get clarity on. We sort out so that we can clear it out more easily. So why do I care about this, right? Why am I passionate about this? So turn so basically scheduling for me, the reason I got very passionate about it at a young age is it actually was a coping mechanism. It's one of the tools I learned to use to get through the day and to survive. I was very OCD, like, and I mean OCD in the clinical sense. I'm not just saying, oh yeah, she's a clean freak. I mean, I wasn't sleeping. I was checking things that made no sense. It was very bad when I was 12 years old. And I did not have therapeutic support in any way. And one of the ways that I found to get myself off of that track was I began using schedules as a way to really control my behavior and my life. And I got very detail oriented with my schedule and the things I allowed myself to do at different times, right? And that turned into actually quite a positive thing. And at the beginning, I don't think it was very positive, but it got me to let go of some other stuff. So these are good things. I turned into a bit of a planning geek, right? I love schedules. Give me a new planner. I am just high as a kite. I'm so happy, right? So the really cool thing, though, is that having an aligned schedule can make things happen that just you don't think are possible. You can actually have so much on your plate and have it flow and work, right? Right? So I have a lot of responsibilities in my life, right? I have teenage kids. I take care of my grandma who's 95, right? I have pets. I have a lot of clients I serve, right? So there are there's a lot of moving components to life. And when I think about it, sometimes I go, how can that be? And I'm doing it with ease and grace and joy. Not every day, because some days it don't work. But overall, because when I keep that very powerful commitment to aligning my schedule with what's important to me and letting go of the rest, it's like it's magic, right? Things are possible I didn't think could be. This also is a bit of a spiritual practice for me because I do prioritize things like mindfulness and meditation every single day. I have access to spirit in a way that I honestly have not had so much before and felt so connected and so supported. So creating a schedule that allows for that, it's very powerful and can be a spiritual practice in and of itself, which is really cool. So let's get out our materials and start the work. So your current schedule, what I'd like you to do is map out what is so right now. And so map out a week and then go through each day and say what is usually so in a week. Your weeks might be different, but I'd like you to do your best of mapping out a typical week for yourself. And if things don't fall at a particular day, make a guesstimate of it and just a decision of where to put it, because what we're looking for with this schedule is to look at where your time is going, like how much time. So that's what we're trying to look at that lens, look at through this lens. So I'd like you to pause the video for as long as you need, map out the schedule, and if there are times where you are doing multiple things at the same time, actually own that and write it in. Like these are the multiple things that are on my plate at the same time. So take as long as you need with that. And when you're ready, we'll move into the second part. So now I'd like you to write about your priorities. So these are things that you get to decide what order you prioritize things in. So these are the things that I've mapped out here, but there could be other things that I'm just not thinking of right now, right? So self, your spouse or partner if you have one, your family, your work, your friends, your community, and spirit, God, source, higher power, whatever you call that spiritual connection. And if you don't have that, then that won't be there, right? Any of these things that you don't have, you put out. The work could also include your job, if you're employed by someone else, your business, if you are a business owner or entrepreneur, your profession, volunteer activities could fall under work or community. Really, you get to decide how you phrase it and word it, but these are the type of things we're looking at for priorities. And again, take some time, pause this, and think about what are your priorities. And I'd like you to rank them as what's your most important to your least, and actually number those out. And for us, for now, these are the things that I want you to set as the way you'd like to prioritize them, not necessarily the way that you are prioritizing them. Okay? Number 3, assess the current schedule for alignment. So go through the schedule and write down each priority that is represented. So if you're at work from 9 to 5 on a Wednesday, right? Work there, right? If Wednesday evenings you are taking care of kids, you can put down family, right? You decide how to map it out and make it very clear. And again, if you have multiple things at the same time, own that also. Now write down each of the priorities and calculate the time allotted to each. So actually do this. Put it there and map it out, all right, and calculate how much that time is. Now, based on your schedule, look at what you are currently prioritizing, right? So another way to look at this is to imagine that someone else was looking at you during the day, like an objective observer was looking at you and seeing what you did during the day, right? What would they think you were prioritizing? What order would you be prioritizing things in? And own that, write that down. And now what needs to be changed in your schedule to have it align with your priorities? Now, I'm sure a lot has come up where it's like, well, I can't do that. I can't do that. It doesn't matter if you can or can't. Just see what needs to be changed if you were to align it with your priorities, whether or not it seems possible at this time. So I am switching the view here so that you can take a look at this entire slide, number 4, the power of an aligned schedule. And I am guessing, even though I'm not with you physically right now, that a lot of stuff came up for you in that last exercise. There were probably a lot of thoughts of, well, I can't do this. It's not possible. I can't put myself first, or I can't prioritize this because I have to work this many hours. I have to get my kids. I have to make dinner. I have to do all these things, right? And when I am with my one-on-one clients, we can talk through those specific things that arise because they're obstacles. They're all blocks, right? And there's ways that we can brainstorm and get creative and clear those out. But since I'm not with you right now physically, talking only to you, what I can do is talk about the power of creating this, the big why it's worth getting those obstacles out of the way. So first off, you are creating a life, basically, of ease, grace, and joy. Your ability to be present in the moment. How many times are we doing one thing, but our mind is 50 million other places, right? I know we've all been there. And think of the effect that has on our relationships. So it creates a deepening of relationships of all kinds. It adds a feeling of reward and meaning in life. And this is a really special thing here, this last item. It gives space for spirit to do its work. And here's what I mean with that. Since I've started prioritizing my meditation, and it's a no kidding thing, it happens every single morning for me. It's not an option. Everything seems to have changed. And when I talk with my clients that do this also, the entire day lines up in a different way. And when we create that space throughout the day at different times, right? Even if it's a small sliver of time, if we set that intention and create the space for it in our schedule, it creates space for spirit to do things that we didn't know were possible, right? And that could be connecting with someone that we wouldn't have even noticed was there, right? And I view that as spirit. You might not view it in that way. But for me, I really feel that alignment with direct, immediate results. It feels good. It feels different. It feels more meaningful. It feels like you can relax, that you're not the only one doing all the things, right? So we use this schedule, this aligned schedule, to really provide access to an entire different way of living, of ease, grace, meaning, and joy. So now, now we get to the fun stuff. Now we get to create the schedule. So create your schedule based on the order of your values and your priorities, right? Prioritize the things you value first. Now, I know I hear this. I hear everyone saying, but I have to put work first, right? Now, work might be your number one priority, right? So you get to decide what your priorities are, right? There doesn't need to be a particular order that's right or wrong, right? You get to decide. But I would like your creation of this schedule to be in order of the priorities. And I will put in this, which is that for myself, I've learned how critical it is to put myself first in my schedule. And I do that even though I have a lot of people that depend on me. I have a lot of people that I'm taking care of and animals that I'm taking care of. I have a lot of responsibilities. And I know that the only way for me to really do that in a loving way, it doesn't burn me out, make this ship, go down, is to put my needs first, right? And listen, I learned that the hard way, young, because I know if I don't take care of myself and my needs, I go a little cuckoo, right? Like I have been severely anxious, depressed, on psych meds in the past, right? I've needed help in that area. So I know if I don't continue to do these self-care things, it's a slippery slope back to that place, which I am not willing to go. So maybe it's a gift that I learned it that way. But some people never learn that. Some people choose not to prioritize themselves. And then sometimes bad stuff happens, right? So that is, if you need permission to put yourself first, this is your permission. I'm giving it, I'm granting it. Right now, you don't need the permission, but I'm granting it. But you get to decide, right, what things you are prioritizing in your schedule and then create one that's aligned with that, right? Now, how will we make this schedule stick? This is the tricky part, right? So I've worked with a lot of people now, over 100 clients at the time I'm filming this, and a lot of that is creating schedules that work, getting daily habits in place so that they can decrease their anxiety and their stress and be healthier and well, right? So a lot of that requires structures of support. And I invite you to create more than you think you actually need. So one way to do that is to have accountability partners. Now, these are wonderful because, first of all, they make results happen that you might not do on your own, but it also deepens the friendship and the relationship you have with each other, which is really nice. It adds more meaning to your life to give and receive support. So an example of this would be, say I wanted to start walking 5 days a week or something, right? So I could say to a friend or an accountability partner, hey, will you text me on these days at this time to check in, or will you see if I have done it, or what's gotten in the way if I have, and just create that partnership where they text you or they call you. Another example is to actually have people that want to do the same activity. So you're working on the same thing, right? Hey, I want to go take this dance class, but I just can't seem to get myself there. Want to go together on Tuesdays and have this be a thing, right? So that's an example of that. I have an aligned schedule partnership that is where I actually am your accountability partner, right? And that's an 8-week structure of support with lots and lots of love and support. And it takes 8 weeks to really make concrete changes in our schedule. Sometimes it takes more than that. When you have a lot of moving parts or there's real obstacles in the way, it can take longer. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you if it does take longer. Just might mean you need more structured support to make it happen, right? If as we're talking about this, you're like, there's so much in my life I just need support around, like my finances are off, my relationships are off, my work I don't like if there's a few things that are off in your well-being, or if you have daily habits that you really want some support around switching up, I have the Love and Order course that helps you look at all different aspects of your well-being and get some nice alignment with those. And then there is one-on-one coaching support, which is an incredible structure of support for anyone who wants to make changes in their schedule or in any area of your life. The Aligned Schedule Partnership. I created the Aligned Schedule Partnership to give people the power to roll out their aligned schedule, to create a life that's filled with ease, grace, and meaning, and to use the schedule as that access point for it. And there's 2 different options that I have here for levels of support, and they fit different circumstances that people are in. So the first option is a massive level of support, and I'll explain what that means in a moment. But it's for people that either meet one of these categories or maybe even all 4 of them. So the first being, there's many moving parts in your life, many responsibilities. You may have recently gotten more responsibilities, or you are leveling up in your business or the number of people you're caring for in your life. There might be some very real obstacles in the way to you having a schedule that flows, or a schedule that actually works at all, right? And you'll know that this is you if when we talked earlier and we were mapping out the new schedule along the lines of your priorities, if you just felt a whole lot of resistance in your body, like if you actually felt like walls go up for yourself, or if you felt like throwing up your hands or turning away from the training and go, forget it, it's impossible. It's not impossible. It just might mean that you might need this level of support to make it happen, to make it achievable for you. And it might take some creative support and brainstorming to figure out ways to roll it out. Option 1 is good for folks who have schedules that have been a struggle for years, like a mess for years, hyper busy, and you feel like, honestly, if it keeps going this way, you might be at risk of burning out. You might be physically sick, or things might start falling apart for you, right? Some balls might be dropped that you really can't let be dropped. Option 2 is a lighter level of support. There's still a lot of structure to it, a lot of love and compassion being shown for you. But it's more for people who feel like their schedule should work. Like if they were to map it out and look at it, they go, well, there you go. There's a place for everything. But for some reason, it just doesn't seem to work. You might say, hey, it should work. I should go to work and then I go to the gym after and big deal. I can do it. Or, I should be able to make a meal for myself a few times a week, right? It seems like it should flow, but something's in the way. And then you end up just feeling bad about yourself. Like there's something wrong with you that you can't seem to make it work. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you that you can't make it work. You just might need a little boost to get this rolling. And it can feel easier and less stressful without this feeling of, awfulness around your schedule and your days. So here's what you get with the option 1, the massive support. You get a total of 16 coaching sessions. Week 1, 2 60-minute sessions. We map out your schedule. We identify obstacles. Weeks 2 through 7, 2 30-minute coaching sessions a week, 12 sessions total. Now, you might not need that amount of time. You might find that you know what, can we just do like a 15-minute check-in just to touch base? But I want you to know that I am there for you and available all that for those amount of time, so that if there's anything that comes up and you need to work through stuff, if you get obstacles that seem like they're stopping you, if you are at risk of being like, forget this, it's not worth it, right? I'll be there to help you make sure you're keeping those things prioritized that are very important to you, right? And it might take some creative brainstorming, like I said, to figure out how to make that work. And we can do that together. Week 8, 2 60-minute sessions where we reflect on the growth you've made. We celebrate this new aligned schedule, and we map out how to sustain this going forward. You also get tech support from me up to 5 days a week. So we can co-create what that looks like. You might not need it 5 days. You might need it or request it less. But it's examples such as, hey, can you text me Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon and check in to make sure I'm taking my lunch break or I went for a walk, right? That's an example of what it could look like. We will also continuously reassess your schedule to see if there's any adjustments that need to be made. There's many materials for planning schedules, short and long-term goals, and habits. How to track your habits so that you can implement things that you want to implement. You'll get support on clearing out obstacles and clarity on ways that you get in your own way. Like I talked about earlier, ways I get in my own way. We all do it, right? And you'll also have access to my private client website. You get just-in-time coaching there, so you can actually write to me any time of day or night, and I will respond within 48 hours with a response to the request and some support and feedback for you. Option 2, structured support, is a little less of that structure, right? A little bit less. We ease back a bit. So you get coaching every week. The first week, there's 1 session rather than 2. It's 90 minutes. So it's a little bit longer session, but there's only 1 of them. And we do the same thing. We map out the schedule and we identify obstacles. Weeks 2 through 7, you get 1 coaching call a week. It's 30 minutes. It's to touch base, make sure things are rolling the way you want them to. And if they're not, we brainstorm, we get creative, and we get things working for you again. Week 8, this is our reflection time. A 1 60-minute session to reflect on the growth. We celebrate what's worked and we map out how to sustain it. There's no texting component to this, so you can choose to do that another way or do not have that be a part of the work. Everything else is the same that we went over. So it's basically fewer sessions and you don't get the texting component from me. So here are the costs for the different options. Option 1, pay in full, is $3,000. You get a savings of $300. You also have an installment option where you can make 6 payments of $550, and that's 1 payment each month. Option 2 is structured support. You can pay in full $1,111. That again has a savings of $221. And you also could do an installment option of 6 monthly payments of $222. Why do we do this? We do this so that you can have an aligned schedule and your life can be filled with ease, grace, and meaning. You'll have more energy for your work, your loved ones, and yourself. The really cool thing is that the people around you benefit. Your family, your friends, your colleagues. They'll notice the changes. It's so rewarding to me personally as a coach when my clients come to me and say, you know what? My husband noticed the difference. He says I'm calmer, right? Or, oh, my wife noticed that I've made some changes and she was so thankful. I'm also giving bonuses to those who have completed this training. So this is a gift to you because you've demonstrated that you are someone that is prioritizing your needs and yourself, and that deserves to be rewarded. You've demonstrated that you care about creating more of a compassionate world, and you're doing that by starting with yourself first. So these are gifts that I will give to you, anyone that completes this training and signs up for the aligned schedule partnership. You get check-in with me a month out, 3 months out, and 6 months out after the 8 weeks of the program completes. This is a value of $500. And you can have a phone coaching session with me, or we could just text or do through email, whichever is your preference. I'll give you my time release meditation, which is my most powerful meditation. What it does is it takes a look at this feeling that many of us have of being controlled by time. So this meditation actually releases that feeling of control that time may have on us right now, that grip of control. It releases that. It's a very different way of experiencing time. The time freedom training you'll also receive, which is a component of my Love and Order program. So this includes tools for time generation, which is actually creating time where you don't think it exists. It also includes time management tools, such as time blocking and prioritization. And it includes mindset, right? The way that we're relating to time. You'll also receive graduate pricing for one-on-one support. So that is a reduced pricing for any additional 8 weeks of support. So at the end of the 8 weeks, you might feel like you've made a lot of progress, your schedule is working, but you're a little nervous about what might happen once you don't have that support of a coach going forward. So this gives you a reduced pricing for it so that you can sustain that longer. And the value of all the bonuses is over $1,200. So it's a huge gift and a huge bonus for you. So now I'd like to turn my attention back to you, put our slides aside and reconnect. And what I'd like for you to do now is take out a piece of paper or write down on the materials. And I want you to reflect for a moment. What 3 things you're ready to take action on today? What are the 3 most powerful things you can do to get your schedule aligned with your priorities? Take a moment, reflect, write those down. And let these be things that you could actually implement today or get started today. What are 3 things that you could take a baby step towards for you? I want to thank you for taking this time to prioritize yourself, to show love for yourself. Because this is showing love and compassion not just for you and every cell of your being, but for all the people, creatures, communities that you're connected with. Because when we love ourselves, show compassion to ourselves, the ripple effects are massive. Thank you so much for being part of this work to make the world a more loving and compassionate place. Love.